with some of the Western miners in general, because they want a bigger share of mining revenues. Give me your sense of where Botswana stands on this. You know, do you think that Botswana is receiving a fair share of the profits, from its diamond wealth, because it is a wealth, or is there a better deal to be struck, and what should that be?
Well, every party to any agreement is always looking to improve their position, to improve their take from the agreement, and it is to be expected that Botswana and its partner will negotiate and try and reach some sensible agreement that serves both parties. We've had a long partnership with DBS, and we hope that that partnership continues into the future, and we look forward to that happening. But in terms of the experience in other parts of the world, it actually is an experience that speaks even to Botswana. We need, as countries that are reliant on mining to a great extent, to begin to deploy our energies and resources in beneficiation in country. And this is critical because it then enables the country to create jobs and to export finished products. And this we also are looking to do. We are diversifying within mining, angling slightly into other minerals in the country, which we have, and we want to beneficiate in relation to these minerals and create meaningful, sustainable jobs for our young people.
Got it. Just to finish on De Beers, I just want to make sure that we understand. So the De Beers deal that I was referring to, you are hoping for an imminent signing?
Absolutely.
Tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Okay. And in general, sort of your balance, if you will, in terms of the company and what the country is getting, you feel comfortable with that?
So far, it has served us well. It has served us well. We hope that it continues to serve the country well.
And do you see yourself, owning a bigger shareholding than in De Beers? How are the conversations going on in that front?
Well, as I say, every party in an agreement is looking always to improve its position. And the same goes for Botswana. We're looking to see if we can get a bigger slice of DBS. And that also is subject to negotiations with the partner that we have.
And how is that going? Can you give us a sense?
We think it's going well. We think it's going well. I mean, negotiation is a function of parties. Even if their poles apart, they move towards each other and seek to find each other some way. That's negotiation. If it is done in the utmost good faith, it yields desirable and or satisfactory results for all the parties involved. If any party walks away feeling hard done, then the negotiation is not a good one. The deal is set to fail. But if everybody is smiling and crying at the same time while walking from the negotiating table, then you have yourself a good and durable deal. And that's what we hope to achieve.
Got it. So you mentioned two things. You mentioned youth and you mentioned unemployment. And of course, unemployment is a problem. So what has your pitch been on that? Or what is it that you're planning to do to bring down the country's high unemployment?
As I say, the digital space is the answer for us. Investment in renewable energy, because it is the energy, and we have a lot of potential in that regard. We have the best levels of irradiation in the world. We have the sun all year round in Botswana. And so we are best placed to harness solar energy and create data centers that we were able to power fully. We're able to also go the direction of mini grids across the breadth and dimensions of the country, which will enable us not only to provide power to households, but to ensure that those households become entrepreneurs, and that the power that they produce from their rooftops, they can then, any excess thereof, they can sell back to the grid. And so they are able to generate some income for themselves. And this creates activity, economic activity, and young people will get absorbed, and we will, using technology, have them engaged also in precision farming, because they want things that excite them. The traditional ways of farming would not be of any appeal to them. The charms and allurements lie in the deployment of artificial intelligence to engage in predictive analytics, to be able to look at the patterns, to look at the patterns of crop yields, livestock diseases, to be able to give this information or share it with those who are active in the space, and through this they are able to engage their entrepreneurial energies and talents.
AI is obviously a big topic here in Davos. Do you have a sense of what the penetration of AI technology is in both in public sector and in private sector in Botswana?
It's still very low right now. We have bits of it in the police. They are deploying AI, for instance, in crime detection, crime solving. We hope to deploy AI in, and this is how we look at it. Some surveys that have been done in relation to police officers and nurses have indicated that they spend about 60% of their time writing reports and not doing the actual work of policing or attending to patients in the case of nurses. And so what we will do then is augmentation using AI to ensure that we free up the 60% of their time, so that it is then better utilized in the core business or the core service that they have to render. And this will create efficiency, it will result in satisfaction of the population, and it will also save on wastage. So it's a huge opportunity, and it will raise the levels of productivity. And when you do that, you are also raising revenue, and you raise the GDP.
And so have you spoken to some of the AI companies here about coming and helping with that process?
Yes, we are in the process. We are doing exactly that.
Any deals?
We will get
tomorrow?
deals. We'll get deals. No, maybe not tomorrow, but definitely soon. Some of them, we've actually been in conversations with them before today, because we're looking to deploy those in personal identification, passports, national ID cards, the driver's licenses, to make sure that these are issued in a split second or a minute, and people can go about their business and be productive.
So we talked about diamonds, but obviously there is some fiscal pressures that the country is facing because there's been a bit of a depressed diamonds market. There is a growing interest in copper mining. Is copper mining an alternative to diamonds?
Well, I'm not sure it can be described as an alternative, but it is a promising and concrete source of revenue, as are other minerals that are found in Botswana. There's iron ore. We have deposits of lithium, which we are busy exploring. There are other minerals like niobium, which is useful in manufacturing of batteries. Evidence that we've received indicates that we could actually be one of the biggest, we have one of the biggest deposits of niobium either after Brazil or ahead of Brazil. So we're looking to develop some of these minerals and ensure that we position our economy for sustainable development.
So, other big topic, obviously, here in Davos is obviously the new American presidency. What does the new Trump White House mean for the African continent?
Well, it means a number of things. I think if I start off on a light and cheerful note, he engages in what we would regard as robust diplomacy, where people tell each other off when they feel others are veering off course. And this is something that has been missing in international diplomacy, the ability to call things as we see them. He seems to have that uncanny habit of calling things as he sees them, which is sometimes very good. He then is able to apply pressure. I mean, the ceasefire in Gaza is an indication that some phone call must have been made, and it could only have been made by him, I suspect. And so we see that. But we also know, because this is the second coming of President Trump, that in his first coming he was, in relation to international politics, he was for international peace, world peace. He didn't start any wars. He didn't continue any wars. In fact, he discontinued and withdrew American forces from certain parts of the world. And so we hope that in the same manner that he was able to deal with the situation in Gaza and between the Palestinians and Israel, he will also prevail in relation to the Ukrainian war, and we will hopefully in the next few weeks, months, see some resolution of that conflict, and that will assist rebuilding, reconstruction efforts in Ukraine, and it will create a safer environment where trade can begin to be restored. And we are looking, for our part, in the southern tip of Africa, we're looking at developing our own infrastructure, trade infrastructure corridors for the movement of goods and services. And we are looking to do trade with the world. And the United States will also play its part. In terms of what people think is an ominous signs, I think we need to approach it with some optimism, cautious, yes, but optimism, in that President Trump is a business person at heart. And so he examines situations, and certain of the pronouncements that he has made should not be taken literally, in my humble view. I think they should be taken seriously, but what we will see is that he will take pragmatic decisions. He will also be alive to the fact that this is his second coming, and now he's got to create some legacy, and it should be a very good legacy for the United States and for the world. So it's a very promising situation, despite what the people may say or think.
So digging a little deeper in what you said, I mean, you know, the West is on the back foot when it comes to investment in general, you know, in Africa. And you were saying to me before that you've spoken to some of the American companies here and some, you know, U.S. investors as well. So do you think that this is a moment, you know, where Western investors, including U.S. investors, can really sort of come back and be a bigger player, you know, in your country, but also in general?
I think they have every reason to come back. I think the world has always said that Africa is the next frontier. I think that time for that frontier has come, and it presents immense prospects, very young population, very huge market of about 1.4 billion people. And what Africa is doing now with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is to open up that vast market space to enable trade to flourish, to reduce barriers, to remove trade protectionism on the breadth and length of the African continent. And this can only be good for business. And so we trust that America will also come in, because there's good money to be made. There's progress to be powered and attained. And so they will want to be part of that unfolding development.
And do you not worry? You spoke about trade, right? And that, if I understand correctly, you're saying a better geopolitical situation will have a trickle-down effect on trade that will affect, you know, your country as well. Do you not fear that tariffs, though, will eventually hurt African economies, and you know that basically the global South sort of slips further down the agenda? It has happened before in the Trump presidency. So is this not a concern, and that actually we're going to have less investment?
You see, business works in sometimes very simple and straightforward ways. The West has every reason to play its part in Africa, because if it doesn't, there are others who will want to play some part. We have China in the wings, and it's seeking as well with its Belt and Road Initiative to exert influence on Africa. And so there's every reason to have some countervailing presence, and that countervailing presence can only come from the West. And the West is alive to this. I think they are astute enough to realize that they can't cede the space. And when they come into that space, it must be on fair and equitable terms, because that is what Africa is demanding. And I think they are, as I say, astute to realize these things.
So that's your pitch.
Absolutely.
Come because you can counter China.
Come because you are needed here. We need you. We need to create durable partnerships with you. We understand each other. We've worked together. We've studied in your countries. And so there are these affinities between us and the West. And There will be no vacuum here, please. So please step up.
So you mentioned, you know, a vacuum, and that gets me to politics and politics in general, and you know, on the continent. There has been quite a lot of overhaul of sort of historic ruling parties in several African countries. We've seen that, you know, sort of lately. What does this say about African politics? What does it say about young people? What do the young people want? And you can speak in your country. What do these new voters want? And what is your response? What do African leaders like you say to them?
The young generation is not beholden to some glorified and romanticized past, however glorious that past may be. Many of them were not born when some of these things were occurring, so they are remote from them. What they want is high-speed internet, not today, yesterday. What they want are jobs. They want opportunities. They want improved livelihoods. And they want governments that deliver this with them on board. And so the so-called liberation parties did the best they could to liberate their countries. And the question is whether they have been able to deliver the kind of progress, the kind of sustainable economic development that meets the needs and demands of this youthful population. And it seems to me that many of them have now outlived their welcome and their usefulness. And politics is also evolving. The young people want to see many more young people take the lead. And so they are looking to remove the old guard and say to them, thank you very much, you put your bodies on the line, but it's about time we now took over and dealt with the future of which you will not be part, you will not be there, so let us shape it. And so I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it also means that democracy is being entrenched on the African continent. If you take the example of Botswana, a party that has been in power for 58 years, totally unexpectedly, as they were doing their assessments, loses power. And what do? They accept the outcome. In a continent where such is always an aberration, they accept the outcome. They graciously hand over power, and it's seamless, it is orderly, it is peaceful, and it is a living example that asserts Botswana's claim to be a beacon of democracy on the African continent, and we hope that many others will learn. I mean, countries like Mozambique, where there's strife, it's sometimes a function of lack of credibility in the institutions that run the country and run society, especially election management bodies.
Great. Well, to end, since this is a financial audience watching, give us some numbers. Give us some numbers to end. So what is growth going to be this year? What do you hope unemployment will be this year? And how many, and give me a number of new investors that you hope to come in. Rattle off some numbers for us.
You know, when you've been engaging in conversations that are ongoing and developing, it's very difficult to give the numbers, but I can tell you that unemployment is now sitting at 27% in Botswana. The majority of these are young people because they comprise 60% of the population. The median age in Botswana is 25. So we have a challenge in our hands, but we also have opportunities. We need to grow our economy. We've had growth over the years, sometimes going up to 6-7%.
And this year, what will it be?
This year, it's quite low. I think at the very best, it will probably be about 2.5 to 3%.
And next year projection?
And we expect it to rise because certain of these interventions will now kick in. But it's been jobless growth that we've had, even at the best of times. So we want growth that generates meaningful jobs, especially for women and young people. So it has to be inclusive. It also has to be equal and equitable. So we're looking to achieve these levels, hopefully.
Great. All right. You have to promise me next year we meet here again and we'll do a recap.
We would definitely, and I'm sure I'll have some pretty impressive statistics to give to you then.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.